Welcome to the Deep Dive. We've got something truly special to unpack today, especially if music is that thing that feels like, a constant in your life. We're diving into the details revealed about Above and Beyond's upcoming album. It's titled Bigger Than All of Us.
Yeah, and our source here is actually a preview that dropped on an electronic music podcast. So kind of an early inside look.
And, for anyone who follows Above and Beyond,
Well,
they're not just DJs, are they?
not at all.
They create this electronic music that has this real, deep emotional core. There's always a story and identity.
Definitely. So a new album from them, it's a pretty big deal for their fans, for that whole community.
It really is.
And that title, Bigger Than All of Us, it kind of signals something quite powerful straight away, doesn't it?
It does. The preview suggests it's framing music as, more than just sound, like a bridge.
A refuge, a home.
Yeah.
The source says it's like a homage to the ties that unite us, as a global community through music.
Okay, right. So let's unpack this then. Our mission for this deep dive is to really get into this preview, explore the background, the people involved, the tracks they mentioned. Just understand why this album already feels so anticipated.
Makes sense. And to really get what this new album might be about, it kind of helps to look back a bit, doesn't it, at their journey?
Oh, definitely. You almost have to start way back with Ocean Lab, that project with Justine Suissa.
Right. Satellite.
Exactly. And the Sirens of the Sea album from, 2008? That pure vocal trance, so deep.
Yeah, that really laid some important groundwork. Then under the main Above and Beyond name, you had Tri-State in 2006.
An absolute classic.
Yeah.
Alone Tonight, Can't Sleep. Huge tracks.
Iconic, really.
And then Group Therapy, 2011. That felt like such an emotional moment, really bringing in voices like Zoe Johnston, Richard Bedford.
It did. It sort of redefined their sound for a lot of people, I think. Became their signature for a while.
Yeah. Then, 2015 was We Are All We Need. That felt a bit more, maybe accessible, hopeful, melodic.
Yeah, a slightly different vibe. And Common Ground in 2018 felt maybe more mature. The lyrics seemed a bit more introspective, the sound maybe broader.
A bit more global, perhaps?
Could be. And that whole journey kind of leads us up to now, 2025, and Bigger Than All of Us.
Right.
Which, as we said, that title, it seems to capture that whole idea of connection, shared experience. The preview really hammers that home. It's reflecting the bonds in their community.
And this is where it gets really interesting, I think, especially for people who followed them for ages. The preview highlights that it's not just bringing back those familiar voices, the ones we strongly associate with them, but also introducing new collaborations. That feels like it could, expand things.
Exactly. We're hearing from the core team, so to speak, Zoe Johnston, Justine Suissa, Richard Bedford. The preview even quotes the trio, saying it just wouldn't feel like their album without them.
Yeah, that makes sense. They're part of the emotional DNA.
Totally. But like you said, they're not just resting on that. The preview specifically mentions a track called Letting Go, featuring Malou. That's a new name in their world.
Right. And the notes say it carries that distinct Above and Beyond feel, introspective, lyrical, but with a new voice. What does that suggest to you, bringing in someone like Malou described that way?
Well, it suggests they're definitely not just, painting by numbers. They clearly value those long-standing relationships, but they're also looking for new textures, new perspectives.
Right.
The description, fresh and lyrical air from Malou's track, it hints at maybe a slight evolution, exploring different nuances, perhaps.
Still within that core identity.
Exactly. It keeps things moving forward.
Okay, and then there's Victoria Horn on When You Believe. The preview points out she actually wrote lyrics for them before.
Yeah, for Counting Down the Days back in 2015.
So having her sing on a track now, that adds this interesting historical layer, right? Connecting back, but in a new role.
It's a cool full circle moment. And the preview describes the track as being about faith and hope, which ties right back into that bigger theme of connection, finding refuge that the album title suggests. It feels like they're weaving these things together quite carefully.
Yeah, it doesn't sound random. It sounds curated.
Definitely.
And then you've got Oliver Smith, and opposite the other on a track called Here Before. Names very familiar to anyone who follows Anjuna Beads.
Oh yeah, Pillars of the Anjuna fan.
The preview suggests this one is going to be a big tune in sets and playlists. What does a collab like that signal with those specific artists?
Well, that combo immediately screams energy and depth, I think. As the preview notes, Oliver Smith is known for that driving, melodic, progressive sound, really quality trance.
Right.
And opposite the other often brings a different vibe, maybe more indie electronic, unique vocals.
Okay.
So putting them together with Above and Beyond on a track flagged as a likely staple, it suggests something pretty potent.
Maybe a blend of that uplifting energy, but with something else.
Yeah, maybe a deeper emotional core or an unexpected production twist. It definitely feels like one designed for those big communal moments on the dance floor or listening loud.
So we've got the core voices returning, these exciting new additions, and some really interesting internal collaborations too. Let's touch on a few more tracks mentioned in the preview, the ones that seem to really nail the album's themes.
Sure. The preview mentions several that stand out, like Start a Fire with Richard Bedford. It's described as epic, intense, and emotional.
Okay, epic and emotional with Richard Bedford, that makes sense. Thinking Sun and Moon.
Exactly. But intense, what do you think that points to?
Good question. Intense could mean maybe a darker feel, or a harder beat, or maybe the story in the lyrics is more dramatic than usual for his features.
Could be. Suggests that they're exploring the whole spectrum, not just the purely uplifting side.
Right, which fits.
Then you've got tracks like Carry Me Home with Zoe Johnston, described as an electronic ballad full of nostalgia and warmth.
Ah, classic Zoe Johnston territory.
Yeah, totally. And the title track itself, Bigger Than All of Us, featuring Justine Suissa, is called Powerful and Hopeful.
So those descriptions really reinforce that central idea. Solace, community, connection. Zoe bringing nostalgia, Justine bringing hope.
Yeah, it lines up perfectly with the overall message we've been talking about.
And the preview also mentions instrumentals, like Everywhere I Go, meant to evoke infinite soundscapes. And another called Into the Light, described as progressive and aimed squarely at the dance floor.
Right. Reminds us that even without words, they build these huge emotional worlds with sound.
So what does including those specific types of instrumentals tell us about the album's balance?
Well, it confirms they're definitely not forgetting their roots in journey-building tracks and, club energy. Infinite Soundscapes makes you think of those sweeping pads, the textures they're known for.
Yeah.
And the progressive, aimed at the dance floor, one clearly shows they're thinking about the live experience, that shared physical energy.
So it balances the introspective vocal stuff.
Exactly. You get the personal connection and the communal energy.
It really sounds like the preview is painting this picture of an album that weaves together everything their present sound, maybe hints of the future.
Centered around this core idea of music as this unifying thing.
Yeah.
And the preview notes that each song has its own journey, right? Some written recently, some maybe developed over years. But the common element is supposed to be that unmistakable, above and beyond feeling, that mix of melancholy and hope.
That specific blend they do so well.
Exactly. It's about that global connection, that sense that music really is bigger than all of us.
So, okay, what does this all mean for you listening right now? Bigger Than All of Us is definitely on its way. Feels closer now. We've sort of traced the paths that got them here. We've looked at this mix of beloved collaborators and these interesting new voices.
And explore the themes coming through in the track descriptions from the preview.
Yeah. And the preview did mention you can pre-save the album now. There's a link on their official profile.
So it feels pretty imminent.
Right. So as you think about all this, maybe let these questions from the preview sit with you for a bit. Like, out of the tracks we talked about, which one are you most excited to hear?
Yeah, and maybe which vocalist is your personal favorite across their whole history? They've had some amazing ones.
Definitely. And maybe even what's your favorite Above and Beyond album overall up to this point?
It's good stuff to ponder while we wait.
Because ultimately, and the source material kind of leaves us with this thought, music isn't just something you hear.
No, it's something you live, something that connects us all.
In a way that really does feel, well, bigger than all of us.